Welcome once again to our Late Lunch Leftovers, where we take a look back at some of the best bits from the show for the past week. Michele Farrar from Charity of the Week, RNLI and Port St Mary Lifeboats gave us some sterling advice about how to stay safe around the coast. We caught up with Paracise Founder Sarah Goldsack, and it was Yorkshire Day, so of course we celebrated with a couple of poems from our very own Mrs Yorkshire, the Baking Bard. But we started the week live from the beautiful Gaiety Theatre, meeting the cast and crew of Taylorian's summer spectacle, Singing in the Rain. I am joined again by Emma Callan and Chris Cumming, director and assistant director for Singing in the Rain. But back with your Gaiety Villa complex hat on, Emma Callan, we did talk a bit about the technical aspect of putting this together. From your point of view then, this is something a bit special. The theatre's being used in a way it's never been used before. It's never been too much of a consideration. I mean, we're all up for trying new things. Obviously, we've had to think about the infrastructure of the theatre, and we look after this grand old lady very, very well. And so we didn't want any water seeping into bits that we didn't or couldn't protect. And so there's been a lot of that. But I know the company as well, and Chris and Wally, stage manager, and everyone has been really thoughtful about that as well. That's taken a lot of hard work and preparation. But also, people who come to see the show will see that there's no orchestra pit for this show because the orchestra are up at the back of the stage. So where I'm looking right now, we can see all the way up to the backstage, the wall backstage. So that's all open. You can see there. And there's been stairs built over the orchestra bit. And we were saying, actually, it looks like they've always been there. Yeah. They're the same colours as the theatre. It just looks really natural having those stairs over. You can't even tell they're over a pit. They just look like they're part of the building. So, Chris, from a point of view of comparing this to what was also a technically extremely challenging show with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, how does this one compare?
It's a lot more technical. You kind of go, after flying a car, anything is easy. But I think what's so great about what Matt has as a company is he's just always so open and willing to try, and it's that level of it, working in that environment is just so freeing as a director and a creator. So it was kind of just, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit naive at the beginning, kind of going, yeah, it's gonna be great, and then I was like, there's like loads of film sequences, and then there's a rain sequence, so it's kind of like, okay, there's a lot. But again, everybody has risen to the challenge, and it has been a challenge, but and I'm not saying this because I'm directing it or anything, but I genuinely think it's going to be very special. Just as the whole thing, the show without any of what I'm looking at right now already is really exciting. And when you add all these finishing touches, it just takes it to another level.
It's been incredible for Sarah and I to actually witness this stage being put together as we've been on air this afternoon, and even just seeing elements like the dancers on the stage, making sure the flooring's correct, because it's hand-built flooring, isn't it?
Yeah, all been hand-built. Paul Devereux, who's been our scenic constructor on the islands, has been just incredible what he's done in terms of building it. So yeah, basically each panel of the floor has been hand cut, hand painted and built to perfection, which is vital for the show. So it's been a very busy show. And then Watford Palace Theatre over in the UK, they built the rest of the set. So it's kind of been like a big IKEA flat pack trying to put it all together, but we've got there. I'm looking at a near complete set.
And from the point of view of having, we touched on this a little bit in the programme earlier, but having the assistant director on aisle and you, the director, being for a large part of the time obviously having to be off island, how have you found that experience?
Oh, it's brilliant. I've got a best friend and a great companion, and Kaylee Parkinson, who's my assistant choreographer, and Mandy Griffin, who's Kelvin's assistant. It's just an amazing team. It's a very lonely job being a creative because obviously the cast, so it's just so lovely to have a team, and we've got our WhatsApp group and all that, and communication makes it that you don't really leave a show because you're always with it. So that's really wonderful. But yeah, I don't know. It's not really a problem. I don't feel like it's an issue. And like the Facebook group we've got is great because we upload videos, and so you always can be in communication with the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing now, because I suppose with everything being online now, it's much easier to keep in communication. And Emma, there's something a bit special happening with the performances this year, isn't there?
Yeah, we are really pleased that Taylorian have allowed us to work with them on a relaxed performance. So that's happening this Saturday, which would have been, or is, the last rehearsal day for the show, really. So Chris and Kelvin and Matt have allowed us to use it as a relaxed performance. And a relaxed performance is for people with learning disabilities. So people who might not normally come to the theatre because they don't like the dark. You know, if they've got sensory sensitivities, or they don't like loud bangs or flashing lights, or sitting down for too long isn't for them, that doesn't matter with a relaxed performance. We keep the house lights on so it's not dark. We allow people can make a noise, that's okay. People can come and go. We'll have quiet areas out in the foyer, so if it's a bit too much for them for a while, they can go and sit outside and cool off and have a breath of fresh air. And yeah, really, it's for them. It's not the normal environment where you come and sit in the dark quietly. That's okay. You don't have to do that. And we, for this one, have specially invited groups. Because it's a trial for the theatre. We've never done this before. It's fairly standard in the UK these days. And we're making it standard with all our pantomimes from now on. So I'm really pleased to say that Peter Pan this year, our pantomime, is also going to have a relaxed performance. But I anticipate that's just going to be ticketed as a normal performance. It's just this one has been a specially invited audience so that we can work out what do we need to do as a theatre? How is it going to go? A Victorian theatre is not the most accessible building, and so we're well aware that there's things we have to keep an eye on. You know, there is disabled access, but not all over the building, and we just need to test things out. But we're really, really excited. We've got over 80 people coming, and everyone's been so pleased to be able to come as well. And for some families are coming and they have autistic children, or they just have one autistic child. And for them, being able to have a family day out has meant so much because they can't always go to things together. So I've no doubt it's going to be a success, and it's something we'll be able to do again.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
So with regards to this time of year, because of course it is school holidays now, the kids are all off, I'm guessing it's a more pertinent time than ever to get the message out.
It is, yes. It's very dangerous out there. People don't realise how relentless it can be. They just need to think before entering the water, make sure they've got life jackets with them, make sure that someone knows where they're going, what time they're going to be back, and just let people know.
Well, what are the sort of more common call-outs for you in Port St Mary?
The recent call-outs have been to yachts who've been in distress, either engine failure or there was one that had a rope wrapped around its tiller. So we went and rescued.
Because it's a complicated thing, isn't it, going on and about? I guess there's some people who just think, oh, what a lovely life, you know, jump on a dinghy, get out there. But actually, there's a lot of things that could go wrong.
There's an awful lot that can go wrong, and safety is the utmost with them. And people sometimes don't think about the safety. They just think it's good fun. But they are an ally there to help them.
And we want, obviously, children in particular to get outside, and we want them to appreciate the fact that we are a beautiful island with a beautiful coastline, and it has been particularly warm of late, so it feels like that time that you want to get in the sea. But with regards to sort of those elements in particular, what sort of advice would you give to parents and young people alike?
Make sure that your children are safe. Look after them, make sure that they can swim, they've got a life jacket, and they know that the sea can be quite a nasty thing.
It can, and it can sort of change with a moment's notice, can't it?
Yes.
And with regards to that, if you do have kids sort of going out in the sea, and you might, maybe if you see someone in distress, should you go in and try and help, or should you just call you guys straight away?
They should call the Coast Guard 999 and ask for the Coast Guard, and then the Coast Guard alerts us if we're required.
Well, let people know then where they can find out more about what you do, and this open day. Remind us again when the day is actually happening.
It's Sunday the 4th of August, and it's at Port St Mary. They can go on our Facebook page for Port St Mary's Lifeboat, and all the details are on there.
The Late Lunch Charity of the Week.
So para is Greek, it means alongside, and Paracise runs alongside traditional exercise. I think finding the word was the most difficult thing. When you're creating a program, you really want one word, and it's difficult because some people misinterpret it. But once we get it out there, I think people go to the class, they realise, what type of exercise it is. I have always been a fitness instructor my whole life since I was 18. Before that, I was a ballroom dancer and as a little girl. So I had a real passion for music and movement. And I've done that all my life. And then I started to limp and trip in about 2013. And I had no pain or injury. Nothing had happened. And so I was eventually, after 18 months, diagnosed with a condition called muscular dystrophy. And there's 100 different types of muscular dystrophy. And the one I have is called FSH. And it sort of is quite random where it affects you. But it particularly obviously affected me because it did go down through my right leg. So that had a massive impact on my job and my career and my life. So I just started to create a little program for myself. And I did it for about 3 minutes every hour, sitting down, and then because I had a big brace on as well, and then then eventually sitting on a fit ball, and then eventually getting up onto my feet, and I did that to music, and it just really came from there. And it was just, the consultant was just so flabbergasted. The physios were amazed, and they just said, well, whatever you're doing, put it in a bottle and sell it. And I thought it kind of gave me the idea, and I thought, actually, there's so many people. I met so many people through this journey of going in and out of hospital, waiting to be diagnosed and things like that. And I just thought so many people would benefit from gentle exercise. And so we created the class. I taught it in my community. We had 80, 90 people turning up. And I thought, gosh, this is, people need to see this. And other instructors came and contacted me locally to near where I live and said, what are you doing? Where, you've got this amazing class we're hearing. And that's really how the instructor training came to be. And then Donna contacted me and said, she wanted to offer something for a wider range of people, and then Paracise was born on the Isle of Man.
Well, it's great to speak with you and great to hear how things are going. What is next for you, Sarah?
So we're just really pushing. I mean, I'm relentless. In fact, it's quite funny because I work with another somebody that helps me, and when we go into a meeting, she often says to people, look, I'll tell you now, you're better off just saying yes to her because she won't stop until you agree to have it on your timetable. So I'm relentless at pushing it. I try, every time we get in front of a GP, anyone in the national health, anyone in the medical profession, they love it, but it's really about getting it onto a wider audience. Somebody, decision makers at the top of the NHS, and say, look, we don't need your money. We just need you to help us spread the word across the UK and get more and more people, enjoying and benefiting from Paracise classes.
Excellent. It's really exciting to hear, and congratulations on how far this has come, and thank you for being able to work with Donna and bringing it to the Isle of Man.
Oh, you're welcome. It's lovely. And thank you to everybody out there, all the listeners that are going along to the classes. And of course, especially thanks to Donna for doing such an amazing job.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Look who it is. It's one of our favourite people in the world. It's Carol Ellis, Mrs. Yorkshire, the baking bard. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and a sunny one.
A sunny, exactly, which goes somewhat against the poem we're going to hear from you today, because although it is that time of year when we expect sunshine, on the Isle of Man,
no, well,
not always.
No, I'm afraid not. No, and I love the sun too.
I do as well. Do you know what someone said to me once, though, on the Isle of Man? If you're not happy with the weather, just wait 5 minutes and it'll change.
Of course, yes.
I think that's probably true, isn't it?
Oh, well, every cloud and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. But you have written a poem inspired by weather to a certain extent, haven't you?
Yes, I have actually. I wrote this because we were having a particularly bad spell of weather a couple of years ago, and I thought the summer was never going to arrive. So I actually wrote this poem called Rain.
Oh, lovely. Can we hear it?
Yes,
I'd love
definitely.
to hear it.
It's raining, it's pouring, it's just getting boring. It's now July, but no blue sky. Let's have some global warming. Men like giant toddlers wear t-shirts and long shorts. Ladies dressed in tiny tops with not much for support. Let's all remove our bed socks and put away the vest. I'll put me sexy nightie on and not feel so oppressed. I thought I felt the sun last week, warming my old bones. Alas, it was a false alarm, and only my hormones. I'm sick of these excuses, they blame it on the jet stream. I want to go down to the park and sit there eating ice cream. At Glastonbury they drink champagne and frolic in the mud. They wear designer wellies in case there is a flood. Glamping in a fancy yurt, it's all a great expense. But dysentery is not much fun, they've got more brass than sense. Rain stops play at Wimbledon, they're really not impressed. And now Cliff Richard's singing and he's asking for requests. I'm not beach body ready, I'll have to wear a caftan. I resemble an albino and I need to get a spray tan. And now my legs need waxing, I'll have to paint me toenails. I've booked a full bikini wax, I'll spare you of the details. I'm going to a barbecue, I'll take some cans of Stella. There's burgers and there's sausages, served up with salmonella. But suddenly a thunderstorm, the skies turned grey and dark. I'm blooming sick of all this rain, I'm off to build an ark.
That image of the idea of you in an ark around Maccled.
Oh,
do you know
yes.
what? That's brilliant.
I
That is
thought you were-
brilliant.
Yes, I thought you were going to say in a caftan round Maccled.
With the spray tan as well. Yet again, conjuring perfect images for us. That is such a wonderfully British poem. Carol Ellis, Mrs. Yorkshire, the Baking Bod, thank you so much. We'll see you again very soon.
Those are all our late lunch leftovers for this week. Do tune in for the main helping on Manx Radio, weekdays just after 2 p.m.
Every week, of course, we'll have our regular features with Duxford Diaries. We'll have Mark Tiley's Greatest Hit, Midweek Mindfulness, and plenty more with our monthly guests as well.
But for now, thank you so much for listening to the Late Lunch Leftovers podcast. We'll see you again next time.